This workshop is focusing on the practicalities and deliverables. The practicalities and deliverables. In a typical course development team or online course development team, there are many interactions or many roles within the team, okay? And we need to see this team working together to achieve a common goal of designing an efficient model that suits the university we are designing this for, and also achieves the learning aim of that department. So in a typical course development team, there is the learning designer. Okay, typically this is somebody who understands how learning is designed online or blended or face-to-face. So this is a technical role. Then we also have the course author. In your case, these are colleagues who are academics and they understand teaching. They've been practicing for long. They understand how teaching is done, and they can design develop content. So that is a course author or module author, as some may call it. Then there are many other interactions within this team from other departments. For instance, the library and the university would be consulted at one point in time as to availability of learning materials and how to host it online and all that. Then there is a director of study who is much more like the head of department or head of unit or course leader or module leader. Yeah, okay. Then we also have a video production team. So in this particular project, we're going to engage some video production person who would help us to design or integrate our videos and check the graphics and all that. And then there is going to be constant reviewer and proofreader. Okay, so reviewer much more like a technical role, and proofreader just checking the language of each storyboard, okay, before it finally goes out live. So you can see many roles that interact. But in this particular project, you see that I'm acting as a learning designer, okay, trying to look at all the technical details, what we can put in each section to make it interesting and engaging for students. And then you are the authors, and there are other areas of engagement, like Professor Jansi, who is director of the study, and he interacting with us, telling us this is what they want to be done, this is what the department wants to do. So a lot of interactive work. So in terms of the learning designer's role, so it's about project schedule and management, review, giving feedback on blueprint and storyboards, because this is a technical role. Providing expert guidance on creating online e-learning or online learning environment, building the virtual learning environment, technically trying to engage all the necessary details, and also manage multimedia. Okay, so managing such a way that he is the lead who engages the graphic team or the video team and say, well, can you put a video here, can you put a video there, can you put a video here? Okay, then you are the course author. Being an academic person, you are the subject matter expert. You understand how to align models to in the blueprint and transferring this on a storyboard. You would be the person who would know what to say in the videos, but particularly the scripts, the introductory videos. How do you want to introduce your lessons or your week or your module? These are all under your advice. Okay, and if you want to create some other multimedia content, this is all how to engage students. So that is under your watch. Create reading list. So you as a course author also create reading list for students. So you understand what kind of materials that are needed in delivering your content, those that are required materials, and those that are recommended. And you'll be thinking about assessments. How do you assess the model you are designing? Is it going to be through coursework? Is it going to be through online examination? Is it going to be through whatever, a group project? So you think about that. You kind of review. Okay, so when the work is reviewed, we give you feedback, and you do some kind of review work or some kind of rework. Okay, which fits into the whole process. So there's feedback and you are reviewing, there's a feedback and you are reviewing. So until we get it to the right standard. So what is the actual process for online course development? The first stage usually is to create a weekly planner. The weekly planner, which we call technically as a blueprint, is the weekly delivery table of the whole module. So if the whole module is made of 9 weeks, for instance, as we said that in this project we want to have 9 weeks, then this weekly planner itemizes all the 9 weeks. Then each of these 9 weeks is broken down into about 5 lessons, okay? And learning outcomes are designed or are written, lesson outcomes are written, activities in achieving each of those learning outcomes are done, and the content. So this is like the map, the blueprint, the major documents that put everything together under one umbrella. So as soon as you take a blueprint, you are looking at the whole module, how it should be done in terms of activities, in terms of learning outcomes, in terms of content, in terms of reading list, recommended, prescribed, everything. Okay. The second stage is the storyboard. Like I said earlier in one of the communication, I said that you cannot design storyboards without a weekly planner. You cannot. Otherwise, you will surely come back. So if you go ahead and write a storyboard without designing your learning outcomes, you don't know exactly what you want to achieve. You will design learning outcomes, storyboards to some extent, but at the end of the day, it doesn't meet any need, because we are not coming to figure out what that storyboard is going to achieve. So the best way to go is to design your weekly planner and then you move to the storyboard. Now, storyboards are the broken down pieces of a weekly planner. So now, if we have 9 weeks in a weekly planner, in a storyboard, we are breaking down into week by week. So it's an expanded version of each week. In fact, the storyboard is actually the actual lesson, how it has to play out, including videos, expert interviews, engagements, discussion boards, what you end of week lessons, end of week exercises or reflections, everything that should be done as it should be done in a class. Okay, so this is the text version of the final course or the final modules. It contains all the information that anybody should be looking for. The third stage is to integrate videos. So we create additional module components like videos, graphics, anything that really bespoke activities within the storyboard to enhance the quality and the interaction or the engagement of the lesson. So that's the third stage. first stage is to um, do some special filming, okay, the filming content. So the previous stage would basically start with the scripting, okay, so the scripting part of it. Because for every video that you're going to put in the storyboard must start with a script. Okay, so even if you are not there, somebody can do the video and integrate it. So usually you write it out in a paragraph or two about what you want to say in that introductory video or in an expert interview, and then we film it. And when we get to this stage, we would provide some support in this direction. The final stage, which is the proofreading and revision. Okay, so there's a constant proofreading, there's a constant review process, and the final stage, after we've designed everything, we submit it to a proofreader who goes through the final checks to make sure that language is correct, text is correct, videos are playing out well, conclusions are drawn well, introductory videos are fine, expert interviews are integrated properly, and we do some kind of pilot study or some kind of prototype. Okay, and we try it out and see if everything is fine. Then we sign off with the client, in this case CUT. So let's look at the weekly planner, how it looks like. So this is a typical weekly planner, which I've given some example in your in our email communication. Number one is the outcome, and that one is the unit outcome. Do not forget, this is broken down in weekly basis. So number one, which is in red, is the weekly outcome. In fact, all the blueprints I've reviewed so far, many people have forgotten to write that. But the question I want to ask you is, if you don't have a weekly outcome for the topic, how did you jump to write lesson outcome? That's my question to you. If you haven't written weekly outcome for the topic that you are teaching, how did you jump to create lesson outcome? Okay. The second stage, which is which is number two, is actually the graded assessment, which we will come back to later to actually redesign. Then the third one is activities. So you can see that column is formative activity. Then you come to the content. You see? So these four things have to be talking to each other. But of course, the assessment, we would come back to it later based on the actual format we want it to undertake. But if you set up your learning outcomes clearly, activities can be aligned to it straightforward, and you add your content. So it's really a simple process, but you really have to understand exactly what you are doing. But we will provide some feedback intermittently, so that should be able to resolve a lot of challenges. So what are some of the deliverables expected? So like I said earlier, blueprint is the first thing to be done, not storyboards. You follow that with a storyboard. We will do video and animation scripts, which you have some support. You write out your reading list, okay, both prescribed and recommended. If there are quizzes and questions you want to engage in as part of assessment, yes, you're going to do that. Rubrics for marking. Okay, so we're going to do rubrics for marking. Every assessment must come with a rubric for marking, so that there's a standardized measure for each assessment. We don't want a situation where assessments are marked subjectively. It should be objective. And how do you mark objectively? Using a rubric, or some people call it grade mark or grade point. So we're going to design some assessment rubrics. Any other resources? Whatever. So those are some of the deliverables. This is a typical example of a weekly planner. Okay. So you have formative activity, you have lesson content, as I said earlier, and you can see the key or active verbs that are in red, which is indicating learning outcomes. So you need to use those active verbs to write your learning outcomes, and they should be talking to the formative activity, and then you reinforce those activities with content. One other question that comes into mind very often is, how do we calculate workload for students? So how long should a group discussion take? How long should an individual activity take? If you ask them to watch a video, how long should be the video? So calculating the workload is important so that we don't overstretch students, or we don't work less than the expected number of hours. So this table gives you some estimation as to the type of activity and the amount of time you can allocate. So make good use of this table, and that should be very helpful. This is an example of a storyboard. Usually every storyboard starts with a welcome message, and usually this welcome message is from you, the course author or the Moodle author. It's just like walking into a classroom and introducing a topic or a lesson. How do you introduce it in such a way that it is interesting, it is vivid, it is catching the attention of the students, it puts students together and very attentive. Okay, so this is a way of innovating learning. I mean, you need to think of how to make this very innovative. Very, very important. You can do this by drawing on the importance of the topic, importance of the lesson, importance of the actual topic for the week. You cannot use an expert interview. Well, sometimes you can use expert interviews to introduce it, but I would prefer the introduction should come from you. Then along the line, you can use an expert interview. An expert interview may or may not introduce your topic very well, but I think that you should introduce your topic, then along the line, you can use an expert interview to clarify a few things. So this is an example of a storyboard. You have learning activities, you have your reading list, you have your guideline. In fact, one of the things that is important in terms of the activities is the guidelines. If you look at the storyboard that I shared with you, you need to provide a guideline to every activity. There should be a guideline. Okay, so you don't just tell them discuss. Yes, they should discuss, very clear. But what dimension of discussion? You need to point them to certain areas. And do not forget, it's an online environment, and you are not always there to provide input. So provide all the necessary guidance. What the template or the example I've given you has these details, so it should be very easy for you to really pick up some of those ideas. Making good use of our time. So you can see there is a chain of activities that you can do to make sure that you come out with a good storyboard. Okay. Usually you kick off the project as we did before. Then you try to complete a blueprint. Then you move straight to storyboard. You draft your scripts. You shoot your videos. We review the model. We give you feedback. We incorporate all the feedback into some real work activity, and we do final sign-off. So this is the way it goes in terms of designing. In terms of the videos, we can do model and weekly intros. So you can do a video for introducing the week or introducing the entire module. Okay, that depends on you. You can also do case studies. Okay, You can do some activity, some assessment intros, mini lectures, and of course I mentioned expert interviews. So these are all examples of type of videos. But I think those that we are going to use mostly in this project is going to be intros for weeks, probably intros for the module, and then expert interviews. These are key videos that we are going to engage, and we may add few other ones if they need be. There is a free online development course from Udemy. Those of you who know about Udemy, Udemy is an online design, not online. They host a lot of courses online. So they have this online design course, which you can take advantage of. It's free. You just have to sign up for it. And those of you who want to develop further skills in designing online. Thank you very much.